Welcome, everyone. On behalf of the Durham District School Board of Trustees, I'd like to welcome you to the Standing Committee meeting of Monday, April 4th, 2022. We have received regrets tonight from Trustee Lundquist. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I'll begin with the land acknowledgement. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight? Seeing and hearing none. I would like to have a motion to approve the agenda as distributed. Thank you, Trustee Stone and Trustee Edwards. There are no community presentations, so we'll begin with item 6 on your agenda, and I'll call on Superintendent Jack Nigro to present his report around Priority Schools Bachelor Education Program.
Our technical folks on the presence of our co-presenters.
I believe that we will be letting them in as you call them.
All right, so let's let into the room, the virtual room, Jonathan Ross, Principal of Village Union, Sue Simonson, former Principal in DDSB and now current UTO instructor, Allison Emer, I see a few people joining us now, and Sarah Lyon and Michelle Grant. Are we all in the room?
So Superintendent Nigro, it'll be similar to the way that we've worked our virtual meetings in the past. If you call the names as you in the order in which you would want them to speak, then they can turn their mics on themselves.
And just asking our presenters to put the PowerPoint presentation up on their screen. So, Madam Chair, through you, the report is found on pages 1 to 3 of your agenda package. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce this presentation, which represents collaboration between DDSB and Ontario Tech University that began in the winter of 2020. At that time, Superintendent Elmhurst, Director Marsh, and I met with a team from OTU and discussed the possibility of a new OTU Faculty of Education program that focused on DDSB schools in low-income neighborhoods. We talked about data in Ontario and more broadly in North America that clearly demonstrates that students in schools in low-income neighborhoods are underserved. Through this program, we wanted to provide teacher candidates with both focused learning and experiences that would provide them with a firm grounding in critical consciousness, how classism has traditionally operated in schools, and how they could think about intersectionality of identities so they could create identity-affirming classrooms. Of course, we would also want them to learn about DDSB's core priorities of upholding human rights and incorporating Indigenous education in their teaching practice. Next slide. Tonight, we have a number of speakers who will reflect on their experiences in the program, including our own Jonathan Ross, Principal of Village Union, which was the site of classes for this cohort of students. We also welcome Sue Simonson, former principal in DDSB and current UTO instructor in the program, Dr. Allison Emer, Associate Dean at UTO, and 2 teacher candidates who will speak to their experiences in the program, Sarah Lyon and Michelle Grant. I will pass it over now to Associate Dean Emer.
Thank you. We are so delighted to be here this evening and to share a little bit with you about this program and our partnership with DDSB. Thank you so much for having us. Jack has provided a little bit of the background. I'll just add a little bit to that. What you're looking at here is a slide that indicates the kind of students we were looking for in our BEd program to be part of this Priority Schools certificate program. So I'll just add that the planning began as far back as fall of 2020 when Superintendents Jack Negro and Aaron Elmhurst and Director Nora Marsh reached out to determine whether we at the Faculty of Education were interested in creating a cohort within our regular BEd stream that would specialize in teaching in priority schools, and we were indeed interested. So in May of 2021, when we reached out to our new incoming students and offered admissions to new applicants, we told them about this program and invited them to give us an expression of interest. And following that, we designed a survey to determine suitability. And in July, we welcomed 20 students into the Priority School Certificate Program. By August, Jonathan Ross and Sue Simonson were busy finding a space to teach the foundations course at Village Union. And so we are now one academic year into the program and considering ourselves a little bit of a dream team because of the really energizing and complementary skills and connections and visions that we have at between us at the DDSB and at the Faculty of Education at Ontario Tech U. These are the schools that are involved with us in the sense that they are hosting practicum placement students and have also been part of a workshop that we offered our students as well. I'm going to turn it over now to our instructor, Sue Simonson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sue Simonson, as mentioned, and I was delighted to be asked to teach this program as I thought, what a perfect opportunity to marry the time that I had in the DDSB and priority schools with this completely new vision at Ontario Tech U and bring along a whole new group of teacher candidates to not only build their teaching and learning skills, but to take a really close look at the barriers that students in priority schools face on their educational journey. And what a journey we have had this year. You'll hear some of the different opportunities our student teachers have had. Allison and I wanted this to be a very unique program, and part of our dream was right from day one to have the students in this program be part of a school environment experience. And John and I, being former colleagues, were quickly able to set that up. One of the other things that we wanted to be a little bit different was having our teacher candidates set a vision statement. They actually wrote this. In the Priority Schools program, we will collaborate as a team to reduce barriers to learning and provide an equitable and inclusive learning environment where the individuality, strengths, and needs of our students matter. These were TCs coming into a program with no experience, many of them in schools. What a vision statement that was. Next slide, Allison. The second semester, we worked a lot on developing that into a mission statement. Making this program different from other foundations programs at the Faculty of Education. And you can see the big ideas on the side of your screen: priority, diversity, inclusivity, and student voice are the big ideas our teacher candidates have. I would say our mission statement is still in a state of flux. We still have lots of conversations as a collective team about it, but it currently stands as diverse in our schools, inclusive in our beliefs. And the value statements are strong and passionate. These were put together in the first week of our program, and they have remained consistent throughout. So this is a group of students that are unique, they're passionate, They're involved in the schools. And I pass it on now to Mr. John Ross, who will let you know a little bit about what our students are doing in his school.
Thanks, Sue, and good evening, everyone. In reflecting on the partnership and involvement of Village Union as the host site, it's a unique opportunity that has not only benefited the teacher candidates, but also our staff and school community. We've had the opportunity to host the teacher candidates involved in the program and their instructor, Sue Simonson at Village Union, once a week for 2 hours where they have their Foundations of Education class. We've enjoyed hosting the teacher candidates in the building and appreciate both the support and encouragement they've provided for our students. The teacher candidates have been able to get involved and contribute to our school environment, both inside and outside of the classroom. During the first term, teacher candidates were able to shadow Village Union staff during recess time and build connections with students and experience authentic learning opportunities. This term, teacher candidates have learned how to facilitate the level literacy intervention program and led guided reading groups in our classrooms. This is an additional support that has been provided to our students through the partnership. We feel fortunate to have been selected as a host site for this program and look forward to the continued partnership and learning opportunities that it creates for our students and staff. And I'd now like to turn it over to Sarah Lyon and Michelle Grant, who are two of the Priority School Program teacher candidates.
Thanks, John. So yeah, hi, my name is Sarah Lyon, and I'm a member of the Priority Schools program at Ontario Tech. The Priority School program has provided me with such a rich learning opportunity over the past 7 months, and I'm so grateful that I decided to join this program. So you may ask why I decided to join this program. Well, I was really looking for a challenge as I entered the Bachelor of Education program and had a bit of a background working with low income and high needs children in a camp setting. I was very excited to see how this would play out in a school setting, as my experiences had been in providing a fun summer experience for low income students in priority neighborhoods. Many of my campers struggled to learn basic camp routines, and I wondered what this would look like in a school where I had to teach them. I knew I could make a difference, but I needed to know how. In the fall of 2021, I completed my placement in a grade 6 class at Bayview Heights Public School in Pickering. I immediately noticed that there was one student in the class who was really struggling and would frequently leave the class without permission. This meant time out of class for the student and a lot of missed work. The gaps in learning kept growing. My associate teacher kept the standards very high for this student, and I decided to make it my goal to build a relationship with this student and begin to build trust through listening, talking, and finding out more about her. Keeping in close contact with my AT, I was able to slowly start working on successful completion of academic tasks as the student worked with me and then back in small classroom groups. Her confidence grew, and there was a progress in task completion. What I learned in my first practicum was that even if a student has many challenges, I can support this student in being successful through building a relationship and finding alternate ways to complete assigned tasks. I believe that I really made a difference in that situation. And I'm currently in a kindergarten placement at Valley Farm Public School, also in Pickering, and I'm loving it so much. It is such a different experience than my grade 6 placement, but I have found that I'm able to apply a lot of what I've learned in our priority school class to my experience. Understanding the role our kindergarten team plays in developing self-regulation and resiliency skills in students who may have not had any prior school experience has been a great learning opportunity. Once again, the teachers maintain high standards for the students, but they have taught me how to work closely with these students who can be challenging and help them to develop skills that will allow them to be successful in the kindergarten program. Many of our students struggle with concepts and activities, but what I have learned is that there are many ways to differentiate instruction for the early learning years and ensure that all students can participate successfully and enjoy their learning experiences in school. The Priority School program has really benefited my growth in learning as both an individual and as a future educator. I'm so grateful that I chose to join this program, and I look forward to more meaningful learning experiences in our lectures with Sue and Allison and in my practicum block in the Priority School setting. My goal as an aspiring teacher is to work for the DDSB and to continue learning and growing with the amazing teachers and colleagues I have worked with so far on practicum and within the faculty. And I'd like to pass it over to Michelle Grant now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Sarah. That was wonderful. And yes, my name is Michelle Brandt, and I am a first-year Bachelor of Education student at the University of Technology and my background is in child and youth work and as an educational assistant for over 10 years at DDSB. My goal is to achieve my teaching certification and return to DDSB as a teacher. I knew Ontario Tech's Priority School program would provide a challenging and rich environment for me to integrate my previous skills with those of a beginning teacher. During my years as an educational assistant, I know that there are times that we can have a bias towards students who come from different marginalized areas of our community, and teaching and learning lens can be deficit-based. But I also know that I had a passion and a background to work in priority schools and make a difference. Creating an asset-based environment is one that I will strive for, and gathering the skills to do this has been an amazing journey so far. In the Priority School program, we discussed the necessity of building strong relationships with students and understanding our communities. We discussed intersectionality and how this plays out in the classrooms and schools. In my grade 4 placement, I met a student who struggled with academics, often missed school, and seemed to have very few friends, although he dressed very well for winter. He frequently appeared defeated and disengaged. The student did not appear to want the help I offered, but I knew that my school was all about creating a safe and inclusive environment for all students, and I made sure to focus my relationship building on this student. I showed him that I cared and that I understood his community by engaging him in conversations about his family, activities, or anything he was willing to share. By the time my 4-week placement started, I earned his trust and he began to accept my help. In fact, he would seek me out to help him. I started to see the light of confidence growing inside of him, and we started to see improvements academically. What I learned in this placement is that yes, we have a curriculum standard that I was expected to teach, but I needed to meet some of the students' needs first, develop a relationship, and then provide different ways to be successful in meeting the curriculum. I was so grateful to have a wonderful AT showing me the way. Throughout the last 2 semesters, all of the speakers, as well as my colleagues, have challenged us to look for ways to meet the diverse needs of students in our priority schools and to find ways to provide equitable and inclusive ways to make the learning pathway successful, despite the many challenges the students may bring with them. The relationships with students and the collaborative nature of the associate teachers I have been able to work with have been amazing. Everyone I met has a passion for supporting students and works hard to encourage students to be successful. My goal is to be part of this team in the priority schools. And I'm very grateful for this project between Ontario Technology University and the Durham District School Board, which has allowed me to be one of the first graduates. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah and Michelle, both. Part of what differentiates the Priority School program from the regular BEd stream is the enhanced opportunity for specialized learning through expert guest speakers and workshops tailored to the Priority School context. On these next few slides, we want to share with you some of those highlights. Curtis Carmichael is a graduate of our BEd program several years ago who's gone on to become an award-winning author. He spoke with our students on the topic of race and poverty as they relate to education. DDSB experts Holly Richards, Sally Roberts, and Catherine Campbell each met with our students to share their knowledge and expertise. Jennifer Henderson and Michelle Evans from DDSB also shared their expertise with our priority school students in the area of Indigenous education. And another highlight was what we call the Red Table Talks, in which students in this Priority Schools program with relevant personal experience were invited to share their stories with their peers and answer questions. And Sue, I think you were going to talk about, or is this?
Sorry, I had myself on mute and I forgot.
That's okay.
We have also called in speakers from outside the DDSB community. Matt Devlin from Durham College and OTU speaking to our students on intercultural competence, Laura Gagnon on Indigenous intergenerational trauma, and Camille Ali from DDSB. John and I just recently organized, however, a large workshop, which was very successful, with the associate teachers and teacher candidates all meeting in a roundtable format. And that was a very successful morning that we had with all of our students.
Thank you, Sue. I think I accidentally unshared there for a moment while you were speaking. I apologize. In terms of what's ahead, the Priority School Certificate Program will be welcoming a second cohort in September who will have the privilege of being mentored by our inaugural group, including Sarah and Michelle. They'll still be with us until December. We're also opening the program up to IS students, and we'll be partnering with DDSB middle and secondary schools as well. Furthermore, we have a new student-led equity, diversity, and inclusion committee as of this year, whose membership includes 3 of our current priority schools students. Our plan is that that EDI committee and the priority school students will work closely together on a number of faculty initiatives, including the potential for a faculty-wide EDI-themed conference that could include all of our programs, the BA, the BEd, the Masters, and our new doctoral program in September. Sue, would you like to talk about the Make a Difference Depot?
Yeah, the last one, because our students, of course, got very involved with John's help at Village Union, contributing to various activities and gift cards and so on that were required. But next year, they'll be contributing even more to the Make a Difference Depot, and John will hook them up with that.
Joining us tonight, and look forward to Sarah.
And I think now we'll turn it back to Superintendent Jack Negro to take any questions that may have emerged through the presentation.
Well, thanks to the presenters for joining us, and we look forward to having Sarah, Michelle, and their teacher candidate colleagues joining our team at DDSB one day soon. And welcome any questions or comments from the trustees.
Thank you. Are there any questions tonight? I see Trustee Barrett. Go ahead, Michael.
Yes, thank you, Chair Thatcher. I don't really have a question, but more of commending the program that has started. Sue, it's very nice to see you back putting more fingerprints on public education. Especially, obviously I have a strong feeling for what goes on in Oshawa, and the partnership, at Village Union, Jonathan, certainly is fantastic. So I really appreciate that. And Michelle and Sarah, certainly hoping very much that you end up in your careers at, within Durham District School Board, because this certainly has been a critical component of Oshawa and many years of attribution and lobbying, in the sense of being able to have and to be able to recognize this other piece that exists in the Durham District School Board, our priority schools. Oshawa has one of the highest childhood poverty rates in Canada, where 1 in 5 children live under the poverty line. And as you would mention quite aptly, Sarah, there are different needs, there are different ways of being able to reach out, there are different ways of being able to step forward, to be able to understand that there is the possibility of education playing a significant difference. And so it's really nice to see the continued fingerprints that continue to be able to be put down in the Durham District School Board. I recognize that this is not just an element for just Oshawa schools. Priority schools are not limited to or exclusive of Oshawa. there are many, many instances, not only across the Durham, in all of our municipalities. And so this type of program in partnership with the Ontario Technical University, Allison, I really appreciate the partnership that's going on with that. This is really almost a dream come true, but it's really the beginning, not a dream per se, but an opportunity to be able to deal with some of the nightmares through dreaming bigger and larger. And I really, really do appreciate coming forward. And I look forward, Sarah and Michelle, to seeing your names on our lists of teachers within our school board. And Jonathan, recognizing that you play a very significant role in a school that has many needs. Your leadership is greatly appreciated. It is a remarkable community, as you know better than I. And this type of program and continued support, kudos to you, Jonathan. Kudos to everybody and all staff who have made this happen. This is a phenomenal fingerprint, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Barrett. Just looking to see if there are any more opportunities for comments or questions.
Chair, would you mind if I made a comment?
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, in terms of Trustee Barrett's commentary, that we definitely took advantage. Superintendent Mundy and Superintendent Negro did meet with teacher candidates to talk to them about the process of becoming DDSB staff members. We really appreciated all the work that they have done thus far, and so made sure that that meeting happened. I think it was about a week ago that it did. So never fear, we are recruiting.
Thank you, Superintendent Negro. That certainly concur with much of what Trustee Barrett had to say about this program. And not only do you have an impressive team, but also an impressive program. I just did want to say, though, that the acronym IS, I'm assuming that is Intermediate Senior.
That's correct. The acronym AT is Associate Teacher, for those that might have missed that.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, moving on then, in the agenda item 7, we'll go to Director Marsh for the Director's Update.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The update's fairly brief today. Just wanted to acknowledge for all trustees that we are seeing an increase in absenteeism, more so than we saw in January and February. And so as a result of that, you may have heard within the community that while elementary extracurricular activities are occurring, we will not be able to host the district-wide track and field meet that we have done previously. And unfortunately, it's because staff absenteeism due to COVID is high. And our commitment, of course, is to keep schools open and make sure that students have somewhere to be during the day in terms of student learning. And just to illustrate the challenge that we have been working our way through, on Friday we had approximately 2,200 staff members away from schools, and our fill rate was at about 85%. So we were able to fill all of those from 2,200. We were able to fill all except for about 200, which is a high amount in terms of reorganizing classes in schools and central staff in order to make sure that there's safe operations of the school. So just wanted to update you on that decision, the reason behind it, and certainly disappointing, we know, for us, for our students, and for their families and coaches. But we definitely look forward to more regular times when absenteeism returns to normal rates, but it just wasn't feasible to be able to offer it this year. Thank you. That concludes my update.
Thank you, Director Marsh. Are there any questions or comments for Director Marsh? And I'm seeing none. Sorry. Oh. And I'll call on Trustee Barnes, I believe. Did it come up? Should be hot.
Thank you. And through you, Chair Thatcher, I really appreciate that explanation regarding the high rate of absenteeism. And I find that number 2,200 amazing. I'm wondering about those 200 teachers who were missing. How do we cover in those classes so that our students are not suffering?
Thank you. Associate Director Markovsky, why don't I turn it over to you, because this is something you and the team with Superintendent Mundy navigate every single night and morning. So I'll turn it over to you if you like.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Thatcher. So, Trustee Morton, there are a variety of, I guess you could say, strategies that we implement to work through some of the challenges that we've been observing through absenteeism. What I'm going to do is I'll start off with turning it over to Superintendent Mundy just to talk to you a bit about our dedicated supplies. And we also have uncertified supplies that we've set up to help sort of support the system in situations. And I'll talk a little bit more when she brings it back to me about some strategies that we've communicated to schools.
Thank you.
Thank you. And through you, Chair Thatcher. So we have hired a number of dedicated LTOs, teachers, ECEs, and EAs. So they are placed at schools where we know that we often have unfilled, so that they can be there on a daily basis to cover. As you know, we also did hire a number of additional certified throughout the year. We've been adding to our certified list. We also did hire a number of uncertified teachers, often ones who are in Teachers College or are headed to Teachers College, and we are utilizing them on a daily basis for unfilled as well. So we have just recently updated our tiered plan for administrators so that they can kind of walk through, use your dedicated, use your uncertified the morning of, assigned to your school, connect with the family of schools in your vicinity to share any uncertified availability, and then they start to work within the school themselves in terms of how they cover. And that's where I'm going to turn it back over to Associate Director Markovsky.
Thank you, Superintendent Mundy. So just to build on that, Trustee Morton, we have sent a communication memo out to schools that provide strategies, both elementary and secondary specific, in terms of when there are concerns with supervision and unfilled rates at a specific school. In elementary, for example, there's guidance around how they can collapse classes. Again, keeping in mind with how health and safety measures have been evolving, the communication has evolved as well. The accessing of other support staff that are available in a school, for example, librarian or other coverage teachers. In secondary, for example, we're utilizing potentially study halls where we could bring classrooms together, and again, ensuring that collective agreements are in place. I will share with you, overall, these strategies have been working. I know that in the morning, if there are call-outs from principals to either Superintendent Mundy or myself, we've able to work with our system leads to effectively problem solve with our system leads to support schools, and that's really the update I could share with you at this time. But again, as Director Marsh mentioned, we're monitoring the situation, and if needed, we'll evaluate the strategies that have been communicated.
Thank you for that.
Chair Morton.
Thank you for that explanation. These are definitely challenging times for all. Thank you for managing.
Thank you very much for that, for the question and the details that provided to us. Moving on in the agenda then to item 8, recommended actions. There are no items on that area tonight. So item 9, information items. Our first presentation here will be from our student trustees, James Kay, Demario Knowles, and Kayla Malcolm.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair, we would like to present our monthly student trustee report. At our recent Senate meeting on March 21st, 2022, we had the pleasure of having Superintendent Mundy join and speak as a panelist. After speaking about her position on the board, our student senators happily asked questions regarding her interest in her position. At this meeting, we also had the privilege of having Ms. McIntosh, principal at Ajax High School, speak to our senators about suspensions and expulsions. She later presented them with a survey that they brought back to their schools to be filled out by March 28th. We hope that our students' input helps make a difference in perspective when it comes to suspensions and expulsions within education.
As previously mentioned in past reports, the Student Senate is hosting a week-long event for all DDSB students in recognition of Children's Mental Health Week in early May. The purpose of this event is to promote positive mental health and wellness. Initiatives to be expected from this event range from student-led videos, Kahoots, digital scavenger hunts, guest speakers, spoken word performances, and the main events are student and parent mental health symposiums. The Student Senate is collaborating with DDSB service teams to ensure the success of this upcoming event. We will continue to update the board on the progress of this event.
We also wanted to let you know how proud we are of the Elementary Leadership Conference team for the amazing work that they did in planning and hosting this event. This conference took place on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 in 2 sessions, one in the morning for the West Region and DDSB at Home students, and one in the afternoon for the North and East students. We also wanted to thank Director Marsh for giving a warm welcome at each session to our elementary students. The students chosen to participate in this event had an amazing time, telling us that they enjoyed the experience, learned a lot, and that they were looking forward to keeping in touch with the other students, as well as wanting another conference. So congratulations, team.
In addition to the successful leadership conference and the upcoming mental health symposium, the Student Senate is hosting a virtual open house near the end of May. This initiative serves as an opportunity for DDSB students to learn more about Student Senate, the role of a student senator, as well as the purpose of our work as student trustees.
As we approach the end of the school year, we have received multiple inquiries from students regarding graduation and prom. Many students are wondering if their schools will be hosting a prom for their graduating students. On top of that, there have been inquiries on logistics such as allowing +1s and whether or not masks will be required during the events. These are concerns that we have seen very frequently in recent times, and we felt like it deserved to be discussed in our report.
We wanted to take this opportunity to thank and congratulate all students who ran as candidates for Stage 1 of the student trustee elections. We are looking forward to approaching Stage 2 of elections in mid-April to determine who the next incoming student trustees for the Durham District School Board will be. We applaud the exemplary leadership that has been demonstrated as a result of these elections.
Lastly, we wanted to mention the amazing responses that we have been seeing in regards to the DELF test that is once again being offered by the Durham District School Board. As a French immersion student, I'm happy to see this test being offered again, and the students are extremely grateful to be able to take this test.
This concludes our report. We would be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Calling on Trustee Forbes. Go ahead, Darlene.
Thank you. I just want to say thanks for the update, and it's just really nice to see you in the same room. So thanks for all of the work that you've been engaging in. It's nice to see you.
Thank you so much then to James, DeMario, and Kayla. Moving on to item 9B, menstrual products, and calling on Associate Director David Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Really pleased to bring an update on this project this evening. And through you, Madam Chair, happy to welcome Lisa Bianca, Head of Facility Service, to present the report. Thank you.
Great, thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Here tonight to bring you a brief update on the provision of free menstrual products across the district to students. If you'll recall, back in March 2021, trustees indicated their support to provide free menstrual products to students across the board, and since then we have been actioning that request. Coupled with this, in the fall, the Ministry of Education announced that they had a partnership with Shoppers Drug Mart to provide product, and with that knowledge as well, we have moved forward to retrofit the existing machines in schools so they are no longer coin operated, they operate free, as well as expand the number and availability of dispensers across the system. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Not seeing any questions or, oh, what, I do actually. Trustee Templeton, go ahead, Scott.
Yes, I just wanted to find out if these are going to be available in the neutral sorry, words got me. Gender neutral washrooms.
They will be available in the single-use washrooms that we have in all of our buildings. So some of those in the schools are referred to as gender neutral, but they are universal or single-use washrooms. And as well, we are working on a plan for how to best provide these in our inclusive washrooms so that the product can be dispensed in a a private and respectful available way. And we're currently working out through trying to determine what type of dispensers are available and how we will do that. But yes, they will be provided.
Supplemental, Trustee Templeton?
No, that's good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Trustee Barrett, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, the sound's breaking up a wee bit for those of us who are online, so sometimes I'm not sure if you were talking, so appreciate the opportunity. Just a question, Lisa, just I understand the $321,000 is for the installation of the machines. Can you remind me, do we have a partnership through the province or with a supplier? And I recognize that the cost of the provision is going to be over and above that. And I'm just looking at that just from a question because obviously planning for the budget for 2022, 2023. Thank you.
Yes, the cost in the report is for the supply and installation of dispensers as well as waste receptacles. So it's all included. We were able to action OECM, which is the provincial purchasing program, to get those prices. And then we recently received a delivery of product from the ministry and via Shoppers Drug Mart. So in the next year, in the next 3 years, cost to provide product will be minimal at best.
All right, thank you so much, Lisa.
Thanks.
Thank you. And student trustee Malcolm. Go ahead, Kayla.
Thank you. I'm sure this has been mentioned before, but just to confirm, are these products also being refilled in elementary school washrooms?
Yes, they are. So that's where the secondary schools all had some type of dispenser in them. Our newer elementary schools also were built with that, but where we're the additional dispensers that we've purchased and are installing are creating equity across the whole district, so including all elementary schools.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. Lisa, I'm seeing no more comments or questions, so I thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
And calling on Associate Director Wright to present the interim financial report.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, and through you, my pleasure to welcome and introduce Jennifer Machin, Senior Finance Manager, who is here with us this evening to present this report.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. This report can be found on pages 6 through 8 of the package. The report provides operating expenditures for the period ending February 28, 2022, or Q2. A few items to note include that overall expenditures are slightly higher than previous year at 48.7%. And the continuing education line has a significant variance, and this is due to retroactive salary and pay equity adjustments that were less than budget. This report is provided for information, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
And I'm seeing no questions for you tonight.
I have my hand up.
Go ahead, Trustee Barrett.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for this. Just a question with regards to you are talking about the some of the salary lines, particularly like teachers and ECEs, that were just slightly trending ahead of the budget. Understanding this is Q2, so that the perfect number is 50%, but I know that doesn't happen in the reality in life, or in the number of days of teaching, et cetera, et cetera. But would you see that based upon where we're going, and I recognize that some of the expenditure is retroactive, as you mentioned, would we expect to be able to be on budget for, and those are probably the biggest areas of obviously of expense, would we expect to be on budget at the end of the year?
Through you, Madam Chair. It's still a little early to tell. I think we're certainly not looking at a deficit situation. We have had some COVID savings this year, so we may have a surplus. Having said that, the significant surplus we saw last year was largely due to longer school closures, so that's not what we're expecting this year. And it is important to note that even though it's just a 0.5% increase in expenditures year over year, that translates to about $4 million. So we're much closer to being on budget this year than we were last year.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And Trustee Thatcher, just if I could, it is difficult to hear everybody speaking of those individuals that are in the boardroom. So if we could ask if when you're speaking, you just kind of lean in a little closer to the microphone, that might help us, those online, to hear everything, because we're only hearing every second or third word. If that would be great, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, good to know, thank you. And also, just to add to that, when your mic is green, nothing's happening, so you need to wait until we get it to the red spot before you speak, if you don't mind. Thanks very much. Moving on in the agenda then, Associate Director Markovsky and the Health and Safety Management Update.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Thatcher, the report can be found on page 9 of your package. On March 9th, the Government of Ontario announced a series of updates to provincial health and safety measures. As a result, we've implemented changes in our practices to align to the new direction that was provided. The report provides you with highlights of these changes, and I want to take a brief moment to provide you some of those key highlights. So first, the masking requirement for students and staff that requires students and staff to wear masks in learning and working environments has now been lifted. It remains an option for those who choose to mask, and we continue to promote mask-friendly environments in all our schools and work sites. PPE will continue to be made available to those students and staff who wish to wear them, and I should note that there are some exceptions to the removal of masking requirements, which are captured within the report. Next, vaccination disclosure, ongoing rapid testing, on-site daily screening verifications are now no longer required. Rapid antigen tests will be made available to staff and students upon request after an unplanned absence. Cohorting and distancing requirements have been lifted. In-person gatherings are permitted. Visitors, volunteers, and sporting event spectators can now return to our schools. This includes the resumptions of inter-school athletics, which Director Marsh had commented on earlier, with the exception of the district-wide track and field meet. And although not specific to our health and safety measures, the required use of occasional teachers for this event was going to pose significant challenges. I won't elaborate on that. That was captured earlier by Director Marsh's update. Planning for school graduations and end-of-year celebrations may resume with the understanding that circumstances may continue to evolve in terms of the public health situation. In relation to community use of schools, we will cautiously permit activities that directly support children and youth activities. These events will be monitored closely to ensure that they do not place undue pressure on our custodial teams. We are suggesting a gradual approach to the resumption of field trips. Pending approvals, overnight trips will be permitted. There will be no international travel at this time. We're encouraging schools to continue utilizing a hybrid model for the hosting of all school events and SCC meetings, and we're developing resources for schools that will help to facilitate such hybrid events. In relation to absenteeism reporting will continue and we'll be utilizing the provincial tool until at least April the 14th. And that direction was provided directly from the ministry. Locally here at the DDSB, we'll continue to report the number of student and staff absences based on self-reported illness and positive results data, along with school absence rates due to illness. Enhanced cleaning and disinfection, ventilation measures, and the promotion of hygiene and respiratory etiquette will remain in place. In closing, in general terms, there's been a substantial easing of health and safety requirements. Consistent with past announcements, our priority continues to be the safety and well-being of our students and staff. As additional updates are made available, we'll continue to keep you informed. And that's the end of our report this evening.
Any questions or comments for Associate Director Markovsky? And I'll call on Trustee Forbes. Go ahead, Darlene.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wondering if any of those absences from last week triggered a public health response. I know that when there's a 30%, I guess, absenteeism rate, Durham District Health steps in. I was just wondering if we've had any of that recently.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Thatcher. So, Trustee Forbes, I can comment that we've not reached anything in terms of the 30% threshold that would warrant us contacting DRHD, but again, we are monitoring that daily, and if there was any need, that would work through our Health and Safety Department.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Associate Director. Item E on the agenda, the OPSPA report. Calling on Trustee Barnes.
Thank you, Chair Thatcher. There's no report at this time.
All right, moving on to item 10 and calling on Trustee Barrett for the Governance and Policy Committee report. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. And I don't know if Trustee Barnes gave a report or not, but I didn't hear anything online at all. So, so I'm assuming that she did, just based on what I saw, Chair Thatcher. So, yeah, we're still having technical difficulties. So, but anyway, I'll move on to the report from the Governance and Policy Committee. It is there before you. As you are aware, we're still working through the draft human rights, anti-discrimination, anti-racism policy that is going to come forward to the next board meeting for consideration as well. And that's my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Trustee Barrett? And I'm seeing none. All right, and that completes our agenda for this evening. Draw your attention to the Waterloo Region District School Board correspondence at the back of your package. And as there is no further business, this meeting is now adjourned.